Hi.
Hello.
Do you guys remember me saying this from my second episode?
To be super candid, I had chosen a different story. I did record the reading of it,
but I thought it was going to go differently than it did.
and so I'll decide if I'm gonna post that, move forward with that one or not.
This is that story. I decided to move ahead with it, and here we are. The story that I chose this time is called My Fully Remote Coworker Kept His Camera Off for Years. I Wish He'd Never Turned It On. And this is another r/no sleep. The author was called The God Circuit, and I will put that here. It looks like they've done a handful of stories and they're relatively new to the Reddit community. This one sounded really interesting to me, so let's do it. James and I both started working at Keystone Data Analytics in 2019, right before the pandemic. We were pretty good friends. Every Friday, we went out for drinks with a few of the other software engineers. But like most tech companies, Keystone went fully remote in 2020, and James and I lost touch. James always kept his camera off in meetings. For 4 years, I didn't see his face. 4 years? Wow. Then one morning, he turned his camera on by mistake. What I saw was so horrible, I'll never forget it. Does anyone have any blocks? Aisha asked during our morning stand-up. The time series graphs don't look right, James said. I think there's something going on with the date logs. I was the one who'd written the logging code, so I told James I'd look into it. Keystone developed data analytics platforms for government organizations. We'd recently signed a $1 billion contract to build a new platform for a CIA research project. Everything about the project was very hush-hush. We were all forced to obtain security clearance. James was the only exception. He had all kinds of authorizations that the rest of us didn't have. When the rest of us were forced to return to the office, he was the only one allowed to stay fully remote too. When I asked him about it, he told me his uncle worked for the CIA and he'd worked on a few other CIA-linked projects before that had required high-level security clearance. Keystone valued his expertise and wanted to keep him happy. After looking through my code, I thought I'd found the problem. I fixed it and then messaged James on Teams and asked him to look at the time series graphs again. He said they still didn't look right. Can I call you? I asked. Sure. I started a video chat, expecting, like usual, James to join with his camera off. Instead, though, his face filled my screen. He looked skeletal. His eyes were completely white, too. But even stranger than that, a tiny deformed man with a hooked nose and beady black eyes sat on his shoulders, pulling his hair. James's screen went black. Thanks for looking into this, Cameron, he said, as if nothing had happened. The time series graphs are still all over the place. I'm looking at the data and the dates still don't look right. I barely heard what he said. I was still in shock, frozen. Are you okay? He asked. Sorry, can you repeat that? The dates in the data don't match the dates in the graph. I scanned my code again. I could barely focus, though. I kept thinking about what I'd just seen. I'll have to get back to you later, I said, and I ended the call. I didn't want to believe what I'd seen was real. I told myself I'd imagined it, but I knew I hadn't. I walked over to our team leader, Aisha's cubicle. She sipped her tea and then looked over at me. What's going on, Cameron? I just got off a call with James. He didn't look well. You actually saw him? I know this is going to sound strange, but there was someone else in the room with him. And he was sitting on James's shoulders, pulling on his hair. James looked like he hadn't eaten for weeks, too. You think he's being abused? I have no idea what's going on, but I can't stop thinking about what I saw. Maybe we should go check on him after work. That's a great idea. Aisha and I made plans to go to James's apartment building together after work. We got there around 6. I buzzed his apartment. Who is it? He asked. Aisha and Cameron from work, I said. What are you doing here? We were in the neighborhood. We thought we'd see if you wanted to join us for drinks. I'm busy. I saw you on camera today. I saw that other person too. No, why? Aisha and I just want to make sure you're okay. Come on, man, don't do that. Get in first and then... Sorry, that was my nephew. He was just playing around. I'm watching him while my sister is out of town. If you could just come downstairs and talk to us for a minute, Aisha said, it would make us both feel a whole lot better. Oh, he hesitated, but then agreed. Didn't expect that. He looked even worse in person than he had on camera. Pale and thin, his neck covered with bruises. What happened to your neck? Aisha asked him. My nephew loves to jump on my shoulders. He thinks it's hilarious. The person I saw on Teams really didn't look like a kid, though, I said. Could I use your phone for a second? He asked. Sure. I unlocked my phone and gave it to him. He repeated, "Don't think," while he quickly typed a short message and then gave the phone back to me. I need to get back upstairs, he said. He walked back to the elevator. When I turned around, I noticed the back of his neck was bleeding. What did he write? Aisha asked me. Call my uncle. 3 is loose? We both felt uneasy, but we decided to go home after agreeing we'd try to track down his uncle's number at work the next day. By the time I got back to my apartment, it was late, close to 9 p.m. I hadn't eaten dinner yet, and I was starving, so I ate some instant ramen quickly and then went right to bed. I couldn't sleep, though. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about James, wondering what was going on. At midnight, my laptop blew up with hundreds of Teams and Slack message notifications. Our platform must have crashed, I thought. The CIA is complaining, and Keystone wants all hands on deck. I ran to my laptop and logged in, only to see that all the messages were from James. I need to talk to you, he'd written over and over. Ooh. Ugh. That gave me chills for some reason. I called him. His pale skeletal face appeared on my laptop, his eyes completely white. That strange man sitting on his shoulders, riding him like a horse. You're scaring me, I said. You need to mind your own business, the strange man mouthed the words, and then James spoke them. If you bother us again, you'll regret it. He ended the call. Ooh, that definitely gave me chills. Ah! He ended the call. The next morning at work, I told Aisha what happened. Should I tell HR, she asked. Hey, HR, get a load of this. And what are they gonna do? Let's try to get a hold of his uncle first. I think he used his uncle as a reference on his job application. I should have his uncle's number on file somewhere. Aisha found the number and gave it to me. While we were talking, James sent her an email saying he was going to miss the morning stand-up. He'd come down with the flu and was having trouble getting out of bed. Hopefully his uncle can help, she said. I called James's uncle as soon as I got back to my cubicle. He didn't answer, so I left a message. My name's Cameron. I work with your nephew James. He's been acting very strange lately. I'm worried he might be in trouble. He asked me to call you. He said, Chimera 3 is loose. I left him my number and then tried to catch up on work. At 5, I left work and took the subway home. A middle-aged man with a buzz cut stood on the steps of my apartment building. Cameron, he asked, are you James's uncle? Roger. He shook my hand. Let's go talk somewhere a little quieter. We walked to the park across the street. Then we sat on a bench far away from the playground. You need to tell me everything you've seen, he said. It was just a few seconds on a Teams call. I told him about the man on James's shoulder, how James looked. How long has James been acting strangely, he asked. I didn't notice anything was wrong until yesterday. I need you to come back to his apartment with me. You need to try to get him outside again. Roger had parked nearby. He took me to his car and then drove us to James's apartment building. I buzzed James's apartment again. Who is it? He asked. It's Cameron. What do you want? You called in sick today. I wanted to make sure you're all right. I'm fine. One of James's neighbors went into the building. Roger and I went through the front doors behind her. Then we took the elevator upstairs to James's apartment. I'm going to wait back here, Roger said. Try to get him out of the apartment. I went and knocked on James's door. What? He asked. It's Cameron. I just want to talk for a minute. Leave me alone. Why can't you just tell me what's going on? Suddenly, James's door swung open. James grabbed my arm and pulled me inside. For a second, that tiny, deformed man's beady eyes pressed against mine. Then a horrible ringing filled my ears. Pressure built inside my skull until my brain felt like it would explode. The tiny man ran into the bedroom and then jumped through the window and ran down the fire escape. Get back here! Get back here, Kevin, Roger yelled. He ran to the bedroom window but decided not to chase after him. Roger came back to James. How is he? He doesn't look good, I said. He knelt and checked James's pulse. His face turned pale. He's dead. I stared at his body. I'd never seen a dead body before. I felt strange to be looking at one. I wasn't sure how to react. So I just told Roger I was sorry. The police arrived. Roger explained what had happened. Then he offered to give me a ride home. During the car ride, he explained what he could. Kevin is a weapon that escaped from us. No! Ah! Alright. Okay. Kevin is a weapon that escaped from us. He's a parasitic empath. He has the ability to latch onto people, read through their minds and influence their behaviors. Who knows how long he was attached to James? To drain his mind like that, he must have been attached to him for years. He shook his head. The next few days, you need to be very careful. Kevin will be looking for a new host. Sorry. If you had a chance to scan your mind in James's apartment, he trailed off. I went up to my apartment, shut all the blinds, and turned off all the lights. I lay in bed and tried to get a bit of sleep, but I didn't sleep at all. The next morning at work, I went to Aisha's cubicle, but I didn't see her there. Right before our morning stand-up, our project director sent out an email saying Aisha was out sick and the stand-up was canceled. I messaged Aisha on Teams. I hope you're not too sick. Do you have any time to talk? She wrote back right away. I'm still throwing up. If I feel better, though, I'll call. I tried to get some work done. With everything that happened to James, I'd fallen pretty badly behind on things. I worked right until 7. Then I clocked out and went back home, ate dinner, and then sat in front of my TV watching an NBA game. Near the end of the first quarter, I started to feel strange. Sort of lightheaded, but there was pressure inside my head, too. I went to the bathroom, swallowed 2 Advils, and then decided to just go to bed. The next morning, Aisha was back to run the morning stand-up, but she was working from home and kept her camera off the whole meeting. After the meeting was over, I messaged her on Teams. Do you have any time to talk? Sorry, but I'm swamped with work. I need to catch up on some things. I tell her about James later. I didn't really know how I was going to tell her James was dead anyway. The day dragged until finally I was able to go home. I boiled some instant ramen, drained it, and put it in a big glass bowl. I mixed in the flavor packet and watched as the power dissolved into the broth. Then my vision doubled. Something inside my skull pressed out against my eyes. I blinked and I was on the couch, the bowl of ramen half empty. I stood up, disoriented, and checked the time. 30 minutes had passed since I'd been in the kitchen. My head was throbbing, so I went to the bathroom and swallowed 2 Advils just like I had the other night. A voice whispered in my ears, "Come outside, Cameron." What? I spun around the room looking for who'd spoken to me, but nobody was there. I heard the voice again farther away. I walked to the living room and looked down at the park. Aisha stood in the light of one of the street lamps. Kevin sat on her shoulders, waving at me. I shut the blinds, ran to my bedroom, and hid in my closet. Then I got my phone and called Roger. He didn't answer. I left a message. "Kevin's here. He's outside my building." I held my phone in my shaking hands, trying to project my thoughts into Roger's mind. Call me, call me. Finally, my phone lit up with a text message from him. 2 minutes out, stay calm. I tried to write back, but then my vision widened. The carpet pulled upward into my eyes filled with white static. Then the static faded. I stood in the park next to the empty playground. Above me, the stars shone in the night sky. "It's a beautiful night, isn't it, Cameron?" Aisha/Kevin said, so calm, so peaceful. Aisha stepped towards me, her eyes completely white. Kevin held onto her braids with one hand while the fingers of his other hand were pressed inside her spine. I started to run, but my legs froze. "You can try to run," Aisha/Kevin said, "but you can't get away from me." I couldn't let myself end up like that. I forced myself to keep running, but like running in a nightmare, while my legs moved, I didn't move forward. I glanced back and saw Aisha/Kevin slowly walking towards me. "Get on your knees," they said. "I need to get on." I couldn't control my body anymore. I knelt on the ground. Kevin pulled his fingers out of Aisha's neck and then jumped off her shoulders. She fell to the ground unconscious. "Now let's get to know each other better," Kevin said. He walked around me and grabbed onto a handful of my hair. Right as he began climbing onto my shoulders, though, a horrible screeching sound cut through my ears. Kevin fell over, screaming in pain. "Make it stop! Make it stop!" Roger walked toward us, holding out some kind of auditory device. "You've been very bad, Kevin. You've hurt a lot of people. I don't want to go back." Armed soldiers appeared around us, dressed in camo, their faces covered with black masks. As Kevin lay on the ground, twitching in pain, they cuffed him and then dragged him into the back of a van parked on the street. Roger put his hand on my shoulder. "Are you okay? You got here right in time." I've been staying close to you. You're a lot like James. I had the feeling
Chimera.
3 would like you. He pointed at Aisha. How long was your friend connected? 2 days, I think. She should be fine, but we better get you both to the hospital. Aisha and I were brought to a military base where the doctors there ran a series of tests on our brains. The doctor said I seemed fine, though they weren't quite sure about it. They assured me Aisha should be back to normal soon too. They just wanted to keep her at the hospital a bit longer. But again, they didn't seem certain. I'm very sorry this happened to you, Roger told me. James had been helping develop some containment software, which put him in contact with the
Chimera.
3 in particular, took a liking to him, but we thought our security protocols were secure. He hung his head. They weren't. Back at work, my coworkers had lots of questions about James and Aisha. The CIA managed the cover-up. The story they had given Keystone was that James had left for another job in Florida and Aisha was away on sick leave. I went along with the story. I said I didn't know anything that Keystone didn't. After leaving the hospital, for the next few days I had a pretty bad headache, but then my head started to feel better. The only problem was that, every now and then, time skips ahead again. I lose 30 minutes to an hour. During the gaps, I've done things I don't remember doing. It's terrifying, but I hope the time gaps go away soon too. If they don't, I don't know what I'll do. But at least I'm not alone. At least I have Aisha to talk to about all of this. We're in this together. She called me today to tell me she's finally out of the hospital. She's taking a bit of time off before going back to work, but she's feeling a lot better too. We're supposed to meet for coffee tomorrow. I just hope it was really her I talked to and not just a voice in my head.
Let's get into this review. So I'm just going to get right into it with my horror scale. And again, I will remind you what that is here. Maybe from now on, I'll just show you what that is. Just in case you don't watch every one of my videos, you know what the hell I'm talking about while I do this. Themes. I categorize it as a CIA story, a government agency story. This is one of those stories. So I said secrecy, government secrets specifically, maybe some conspiracy, cover-ups, government men in black.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
You know, things kept from the public. Technology, I guess, more modern technology, which could be considered sort of a theme. Tech is a big part of this, where they're talking about Microsoft Teams and obviously all of the other myriad of things that they name in this story. I mean, the title is, I wish he'd never turned it on. He kept his camera off for years. I wished he'd never turned it on.
Ugh.
I like that it's a workplace story. That is a way to categorize this as well, which is really interesting. I think in horror especially, a workplace story is cool, and we have less of that for sure. The only like larger, bigger picture theme that I could think of was obviously the mind control, but with that autonomy or lack of autonomy, losing your autonomy, someone or something else controlling you. And those were the themes that I saw. Were there any more that you guys saw? I think it's pretty cut and dry with this one. Voice. His name is Cameron. He's our protagonist. I didn't hear anything specific with his voice. I kind of didn't get any at all. We just heard what was going on, which is what the narrator does. But we don't know a whole lot about him as a person. We know his work history. We know his relationship with his coworkers.
You put my stuff in Jell-O again!
But we don't really know anything about him himself. There's no sort of way of speaking that he has.
You got a fancy way of talking.
That's anything other than this is what's happening. These are the facts about this person. These are the facts about this. So I don't really think that we get a voice here. Again, that doesn't make or break a story, which is why I'm not rating it. I'm not giving a rating for that. That is A-okay, not necessary, but that's that. We got the story. We got the narration. Writing. Okay, I don't think the way that it was written was bad. I don't think that this story is poorly written. I think what happens is silly to me. I think that's entertaining and fun and silly. Again, with the lack of voice, I don't remember anything that sticks out just writing wise, though, like quality writing wise. Nothing really sticks out. We just got what was happening. We got the facts. And that's okay. But I felt like we got no more and no less. Moral, messages, or lessons. Do you guys see any lessons or messages within this story apart from be careful? Self-preservation. Maybe have some self-preservation. Keep your wits about you. Don't work for the CIA. Don't work for the government. I don't know. Don't have skills that the CIA might want to use. And it wasn't even his skill set. The James, the guy who died, had more of a say, had more pull with the CIA than our main guy, than our protagonist, Cameron. So
Oh, yeah.
any messages or lessons that I'm missing? I'm grasping at straws here. Plot. This is what makes me giggle. This is what had me in stitches. I am so old. I'm showing my age with that. But this is what had me laughing, right? The plot. So when I started reading it, I skimmed through, and what I thought I had read was that once this man came on camera, he was a dead body like the whole time, and that was intriguing to me. And that's specifically why I chose this story, because I was like, oh my god, what? That is so cool. Where are you going to go with that? That's what I thought happened. And that's not what happened. To start with the idea of like a CIA story, and to get to the point where you're saying, come back here, Kevin. And that's the CIA's weapon is Kevin.
Oh.
That's silly. That's funny. That's funny. You've been bad.
Mom, you've been bad.
Just the first mention of this little man on a shoulder. Just picturing that made me giggle so much. I don't know. Maybe that's creepy. Maybe that gets some people. When I read the comments on Reddit about this story, people were invested. It got people to care, and that's the point, right? So, the plot. He works at this tech company that went fully remote. Kind of ironic that here's this story that I did read before, but I'm just sharing with you now. It's affected by the pandemic. So, it is a part of the story, which is cool. This is what I talked about with my last story with the bunker. Anyway, This tech company went fully remote in 2020, and then one of their coworkers was allowed to stay remote. He didn't have to come back to work. This guy was friends with our protagonist. They were friends. They hung out in person. They said they went out for drinks with the team, with the coworkers before. They were friends. He knew him in person, IRL. And then for 4 years, he hadn't seen this man, James, the man who's allowed to stay remote. Hadn't seen him for 4 years. And then he accidentally turns on his camera one day and he sees this man on his shoulder and notices that James looks skeletal, I believe was the word, and not himself. So our protagonist panics and tells his boss, and then they go to see him. Has this little parasite on his shoulder. He attached himself to James, ends up killing James, and then wants to attach to our protagonist, gets in his mind, and then does attach himself to the boss. Oh, the uncle. I forget about the uncle. And then at the end, we're questioning with the protagonist if he's taken over him or not, like questioning. See, in my head now. Is he in my head? Yeah. Originality. So I struggled a little bit with this one because, like I've said, it's a category of story is this government agency story. We've seen that before. But obviously, the specific weapon and everything that happens with that is original. I'll say that. It's original. At least I don't read a lot of this type of story. So I really don't know. Have you guys seen stuff like this before? Let's talk about anything I haven't talked about. Also, I'm going to forego that's a bloody good sentence.
Better luck next time.
For this story. I think that is fitting. That feels right. That's what I'm going to do. I want to acknowledge my pronunciation of chimera. So I had to look it up. I didn't know. Looked it up. And it is chimera. What made me laugh so hard were the one-liners. There are so many one-liners that I just think of all of those types of movies that I've seen.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And there's so many of them. And then, he's getting on the picture of, getting on his back. The little guy and he's like, get down on your knees. I need to get on your back. Huh? I think there was potential. We had all of the answers to already mention that they work with the CIA. That's already in our head. Oh, obviously it has something to do with that, right? That's already in our head. That's introduced right away. Which is maybe fair. How else would you go about it? How else would you introduce all of what's going on without that? I don't know. I'm thinking less paranormal, right? Which is maybe where I would have gone before. It was lacking some buildup because of this uncle. They were introduced to him so soon. And then he's able to contact the uncle pretty damn fast. He just gets in contact with him and he's there and he's telling him everything that's going on. And he's like, okay, here's exactly what we need to do because I'm in on that.
Hacking into the mainframe.
So while the premise of this story and what makes this story interesting is not knowing what the hell is going on, we just get that right away. So I think it could have definitely used some more build up for sure. And more of that, playing more of that up. I think that was kind of where the story ended. That made it so that it can only go so far. And if that's what the writer wanted to do, they only wanted to take it to a certain point. They wanted to tell this short story. Fun. That's fine. Cool. But if you wanted to open up the story, if you wanted to do more with it, I think that's where it was stopped short. I think they did that to themselves because of that. I think also it could have maybe been made differently, more interesting possibly, if it were a different type of weapon or they added more things. So a lot of the story was a lot of verbiage. It was a lot of tech jargon, tech verbiage. Maybe you guys know some of the stuff that was mentioned. Maybe you don't, but I was left in the dark also partly because of that. Maybe that was a part of why I was a little more disconnected from this story. Data analytics, their job was to helping develop containment software. Keystone develops data analytics platform. Okay. So let's get to the rating. All right. So we are giving a rating to writing, plot, and originality. Writing. Like I said, I do not think this story is written poorly. I do not think the quality of the writing is bad. But that being said, I don't think any of it was this beautifully written, oh, I wish I thought of that sort of thing. There was no grander anything than just, this is what's happened. Writing out of 5. I think a 3 out of 5 is fair because we knew what was going on. I was never confused with what was going on. The story moved forward. It told the story, nothing more, nothing less. Plot. Because of the CIA aspect, and this is the type of story that it is. So it does narrow it down a little bit. I'm giving the plot a 2 out of 5. That feels right as well. Originality. This is the one that I said I struggled with. Because while we've seen the CIA type story before, what happens, again, kind of what I'm thinking is the same reason that the plot score is lower could be the same reason that the originality is higher. The only frame of reference that I have with this type of thing is movies. But that's all I have. I have never heard of a parasitic empath, or I don't know the different types of CIA weapons that people would choose, or I have no idea. So I really don't have a frame of reference. I'm just going with my gut and what I think it deserves. Originality, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. But from what I know, I've not seen it. That's why it's getting a 3 out of 5. So out of 15 stars, 8 out of 15. 8 out of 15. And I think that's fair. That's not to say this is the worst story I've ever read. Of course it's not. I had a great time reading. Like I said, when I read the comment, people were invested. It got people to care. That is what is important with writing. No, that's exactly what the goal is. That's what you want. And I got that. All right. I want to give you my stickers. These are my QR code stickers. So I've created a challenge on TikTok, or if you want to do it on your preferred social media platform, please do. I want to send you my stickers and have you guys stick them anywhere in public in your community that you so please. And the challenge is to film yourself doing it. If anyone is interested in joining this challenge, please let me know. Comment, message me. I will get my stickers to you. It's been fun. I want to see all the places that we can get them. It's a fun way to promo, or even if you don't want to join the challenge and you just want the stickers, let me know. I'll still send them your way. And thank you to friends and people who have already joined the challenge or just stuck them in places. So that's really cool to see. I love that. Somebody commented the other day that they saw the QR code in the woods.
Oh, wow.
So pretty cool. Pretty on brand for Final Girl. I am thinking about other types of videos that I can make, or what else I can do outside of my horror hour episode. And I have some ideas brewing, and I'm getting really excited about that. I'm also very slowly, but moving forward with the idea of making little shorts or videos of reenacting, recreating stories. So I will be looking for actors and people who want to be involved in that. You want to be an actor, take cool shots. You want to be a set person. You want to help carry the bag. Yeah. Again, message me, comment, follow my socials if you'd like, which are listed at the end here. I'm getting really excited. This is such a fun time for me. I'm so into this. I love it. And if you guys have any ideas for my videos, for anything that I might do, different ways of spicing up my current show, my episode, what you think of the stories, I want to hear from you guys. That's so fun to me. It's so fucking cool. Thanks for giving your shit what I have to say about stranger stories on the internet.